What do you say to someone after catching him while watching porn to make it any less awkward? When I was a teen I was showing my mom and older brother a slidder show on my PC and a pesky porno started playing. I probably downloaded it on my 56,000 modem years back. My brother pulled the plug and said oh the computer had a virus. To this day he brings it up whenever we get drinking. My dad just laughed and said this will stay between us. For a dad, it was a very bro move. Watch this video until the end for good luck. Best friend showing me porn with two women when his dad walks in and sees us. Dad walks out, mom asks, what are they up to? He responds, studying anatomy. Back in 2010, best friend and I decided split a 2-bedroom apartment. Both 20 over 21 years old. First off, when entering the place, there's a hallway. Kitchen to the left with an open breakfast bar facing the dining and living rooms. Living room straight ahead. Couches set facing away from the entry, and the TV on the far wall. If you are sitting on the couch, you have to look back to see who is either walking in or in the dining room or kitchen. Got home from work one day and Jude is chilling on the couch just laying down the hammer, and Alexis Texas is a star upon the screen just taking it like a pro, as she does. Realize that he did not hear me come in. So I meander into the kitchen, grab a beer and pop that sucker open. Still didn't hear me. Volume is pretty high on the TV. So I finally say she sure can take it. He turns his head and looks back while stating takes it like the best of them and looks back to the screen. Double takes back to me and freaks the f out. Reaction was hilarious. When I was young and still living at home my stepdad had discovered how to unscramble satellite cards. So we got every channel for free. Well they were out of town and my cat got hurt. In a panic I called my boyfriend's parents to help me. They came over and his mom started helping me with the cat. I handed his dad, a very traditional Southern Baptist of the extremely devout variety, the remote and told him to make himself at home. A few minutes later I heard the unmistakable sound of hardcore orgy porn and my boyfriend's father yelling help. Help, I don't know how to stop it. I came in to find him with his cheeks red, his eyes covered, and the remote in the floor. I hit the power button and had to explain to him that in descrambling the satellite to get free service and all the good movie channels, we had all the porny channels too. I told that story at family get-togethers forever after that. I married their son, and we lost his dad in 2014 to pancreatic cancer. He was truly a wonderful, kind, and dependable man, and I miss him terribly. My dad, who doesn't know computers, got on YouTube with my help one day, and he stayed on the computer all day until early that next morning browsing. I came home late, and he was causally looking at pics, then slowly hit the red X, and said he found a new band. My dad walked in on me, realized what you was doing, and immediately closed the door again. Then, a couple seconds later, he opened it back up, without looking at me, but I hadn't had my out yet anyway, peeked at what was on my computer screen and said okay, just making sure. If you're my grandmother it's okay Mike, I'll just leave your tea and biscuits on the table. Try not to play with you Willie too much, you'll go blind, before leaving the room slowly in reverse backwards. Can confirm this is one of the reasons I'm mental as an adult. Got a funny story about walking in on my friend having some personal time when we were like 16 or 17. He had a room upstairs at his house and none of his family ever went up there. Well, I showed up unannounced one evening BC I was in the area and was going to see if he wanted to play some video games. When I ran upstairs, I didn't think to knock because anytime I had ever heard anyone coming up you could clearly hear them coming. I walked through the door and he had headphones on just going at it with all his might, and I mean on the verge of sweating, and he was oblivious to everything around him. I solely locked onto the computer screen. I stopped in my tracks, and even though my eyes knew what I was seeing, it took a second for my brain to process it, and around that time he apparently got a glimpse of me in his peripheral because he looked over at me and doubled over to cover himself, yelling get out, and I couldn't help but bust out laughing as I turned to walk out. I ran downstairs for a few minutes so that he could collect himself and then made my way back up, knocking on the wall on my way up yelling hey man, I'm on my way up. When I walked in we just kind of grinned at each other and never spoke of it again. And no, I didn't bring it up in front of our friends. Didn't want to embarrass him. My mum walked in while I was licking my ex out. She goes, "Oh whoops, what do you want, 40? Or are you full?" I could have died at that very moment. She then done it another 2 more times after that. You don't do what my roommate did in our freshman year of college and tell everyone we knew on our floor, the girls' floor above us, and everyone else. I was humiliated and hurt. It's not like you didn't do the same thing. F you, Eric. I walked in on my uncle watching porn in the living room and I pretended like I didn't notice. He was fully clothed, so he probably was just about to get started. I think he thought I wasn't home. I had to make it not weird, so I randomly started talking about school and whatever else I could think of, and I could tell that he knew that I knew, and I knew that he knew, but we just didn't bring it up. My dad walked in on me 2 times. First time, he said nothing, but then I heard my parents cracking up. That was awkward. The second time, he came into my room and eye contact was made. He said, "Oh, I'll come back later. I see you have your hand full." That was worse, but now, as a dad myself, I recognize he clearly used a dad joke to assert dominance. My stepmom caught me when I was about 13. She just kept walking without saying a word. I later heard her whisper to my dad, "Are you gonna say anything?" He just shook his head no, and it was never spoken of again. Thanks, Dad. Oh, I remember them, although I prefer their earlier work, in Backdoor Anal Sluts 2. He or she was at their prime. I really appreciated that moment 32¼ minutes in. That look was the best acting I've seen since the original Devil in Miss Jones, though I did find the production value subpar and that thing with the snake was a little off-putting. Speaking of snakes, what did you think of Genital Hospital? The third scene with the gentleman packing a python in his pants. I believed he was at the hospital because he had genital elephantitis. I was copy and pasting porno links to my buddies one evening. We are snickering over the cool porn and hot babes. Well, later I find myself on YouTube watching an AskReddit video my dad might like, since we both love NASCAR. Well, I was working, so I must have forgot to copy the YouTube link and accidentally send him the last porno link I sent to my buddies. I didn't even think to check the link and hit send immediately. Oh f***. So quickly respond with a "sorry, that wasn't for you." I thought it was crazy as f***, so I was sending it to my friends. Do not watch it. I get a text back 10 minutes later saying you're into some weird shit there, bud, and haven't heard another word about it since. Fast forward a week, my cousins and I are drinking. They get quiet, look at me, and ask me, "So that porn the other day, why were you watching it?" I didn't send them the link, so I'm trying to figure out how they know. Well, my dad ends up showing it to my uncles to humiliate my fetishes. My uncles tell my cousins, and now all the men know I like really weird getting gangbanged by 7 black men. Weirdest 2 weeks of my life. We're all grown men, so it's not weird, but they tease me about it sometimes. You don't have to say anything. Just reach out and start stroking it for him. Bonus if you make the final strokes that send him into the shame realm. Not me, but a buddy of mine. Finished watching porn in his room and then sits on the couch next to his dad. Buddy opens up his laptop and moaning starts coming out of the speakers. Dad just looks over and says, "At least now I know you're not gay." When my roommate first moved in, he walked in on one of our other roommates watching porn in their shared room. His greeting was, "Hey, you looking at b***s?" They didn't talk much after that. When I was about 14, my friend Marcus' dad chose to make it more awkward for not only him, but me. I came to his house a few hours after school, and apparently my friend had been watching porn on the family desktop before I got there. We were downstairs in his room for a bit before we hear his dad, this terrifying man, bellow Marcus. He sheepishly goes upstairs, and after a minute or two he comes back down and says they want to talk to you too. Apparently, his dad had either checked the browsing history or seen a page left up. His mom and dad take us into the family room and give us some long Christian lecture about the evils of pornography. I'll never forget his dad going over to the computer and reading off the websites Marcus had visited. Naked Teen Sluts, Hanky Pank College, etc. Not exactly the same, but me and my father were gonna search something on the internet and I pull out Firefox. Firefox used to have a feature where it has suggestions of what sites you want to go to. One of these categories of suggestions was recently visited and it had hentai on it. It was a pretty big box and it showed an SFW picture on it. He may have seen it, he may have not, but I just covered it up with my hand, looked at him and said shh. We laughed. He's cool dude. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Let us know your thoughts on this topic. See you soon.